Hey, kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it.
This one. There it is.
There we go. There we go.
Piloting this thing, man. Riding pilot and shotgun, man. It's difficult. Welcome
versatile.
in, everybody.
Versatile.
Very versatile. Very
It's
versatile.
amazing you're able to pilot this into the side of a mountain with such precision.
Very dark, Eric. Are you a little? Are you feisty today? Is this? We have.
I might be feisty. I'm not sure. Let's find
Is
out.
Nux here? Is this what's happening? I think I see Nux here. Welcome in, everybody, to the DNVR show, the final show before our draft show, which is tomorrow, 5 o'clock. We're going to be live from like 5 to 9, maybe 10, who knows? We're going to be live for a very long time, and it's going to be fun. Hanging out, all-star cast. You're not going to want to miss it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, best way to watch it. I'm Adam Mattes. I'm joined by the all-star cast. Seated right to the right of me, it is Ace Ventura.
Oh, does that mean because of the shirts and stuff?
It would definitely not be either me or Eric, that's for sure.
Hey, TJ says my hair is phenomenal. BSN McBride. Wow.
Is it the old Periscope name? Yeah, look at that. We'll throw it up here. There's BSN McBride. And then seated down below us here, it's a man with the wind in his hair, Harrison Wind.
I'm excited for the final Drew Holiday podcast ever. This will be the last time Drew Holiday's name is ever uttered on our show, so soak it in. Soak it in.
That's some Magnum vibes up here. That's not right corner. It's so true. I love it. And then, of course, the grumpy one. You know him as D. Lyco.
With the H, I mean,
You were grumpy for like 3 seconds, and so now
I don't even feel like I was grumpy. I was just building off of your joke. What the hell am I? What's up, guys? I'll get over my grumpiness, I guess.
It wouldn't be the DNVR Nuggets podcast if I wasn't being abusive to my.
You are
co-stars here.
remarkably
bit of a
abusive.
bully,
I was telling these guys. I went back and listened to a bunch of the shows. Adam, the one through line. Adam, very abusive. Harrison
guys-
gets abused.
Yeah, this
Like
this
when-
is an abusive relationship, and we're all complicit. That's
guys,
the worst part about it.
Did you guys see that Michael Jordan documentary? You guys, what'd you guys learn?
You're like,
Did you guys learn
look at me.
anything?
Look at me.
I'm Scott Burrell.
You're all Scott Burrells. Just a team full of Scott Burrells. All right, so today, guys, this is the eve of the NBA draft, which is the biggest day of the year for the NBA. I mean, it really is. It's not the NBA Finals. It's not all that stuff. It's the draft, because this is where teams are made, trades happen. And so we're going to prepare for that with a bunch of what-ifs, including a crazy what-if. James Harden, he's on the market. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Oh, look at Eric. He's already
excited.
That's why he's grumpy. He's like, I don't want to
I
talk about
know.
this.
Yeah, I'm grumpy because I read the title of the show.
But before we get there, guys, I mean, this is some big news. We've been talking about this for weeks. Eric, you always mention this, that you hate this time of year because we always talk about things for weeks and weeks in every angle, and then they don't happen, and it's like, well, what were we doing? And that's what happened last night. The Milwaukee Bucks pulled the trigger on an enormous deal and land Drew Holiday. They won the Drew Holiday sweepstakes, and they got it for the low, low price of
Their entire team.
just about everything. So they gave away Bledsoe, George Hill, 3 first-round draft picks, 2 pick swaps. That's a hefty price. I mean, I think the Nuggets equivalent of that same deal probably would have been Gary Harris, Monte Morris, 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps, or 2 first-round picks, Bol, and 2 pick swaps. I mean, that would be an enormous deal. The one thing to note before I turn it over to you guys is that the picks that were traded are kind of deep future picks. I believe the Bucks retain their own picks for the next 2 seasons, which allows them this opportunity to kind of replenish and maybe continue to build a contender. Harrison, I go to you first here, but when this news came through, what was your initial reaction to it?
Well, it seemed like a lot for Drew Holiday, definitely way more than we had ever thought that he would garner in a potential trade. But if you're the Bucks, you got to make this deal. This is the trade for the future of your franchise, you know? This is the trade that could potentially keep Giannis in Milwaukee on his next contract. So it's almost like no amount of future picks would have been too many because there's like no Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis. So it was really it was a huge trade for Milwaukee. It was a trade they had to make, to be honest.
So I'm getting updated here, and it is red. I was pulling it up as we were talking. They got Indiana's 2021 pick, and then or 2020 pick. Let me see, pull it up here. 2020 pick. So this year, and then they got the rest of them are 2024 and beyond. So they do, like I said, the Bucks are going to have a little bit of flexibility. They are going to be, I believe, hard capped. They're going to have to sign a bunch of very, very cheap contracts now to fill out this year's roster. But at least going forward, they have some draft picks or draft capital to maybe try to build around it. Vote, what was your feeling when it came through?
Man, I think both things are true here. So there's a camp of what were the Bucks supposed to do, and a camp of that's too much for Jrue Holiday. And both of these things are correct. I think you can't. It's not a great job, I think, by an organization if you feel like you have to pay 200% value on a non-All-Star just to keep your franchise player around.
Right.
That's not a great thing. On the flip side, what is Milwaukee supposed to do? Not try to keep Giannis? I assume they made not just this Jrue deal, but also that Bogdanovich deal with the idea in mind that Giannis, if not a verbal commitment, is almost certain to come back now. And so, if it's to keep Giannis, you have to be aggressive. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Complain about your small market woes if you didn't even try? I think both of these, it's a lot for Jrue. But what were the Bucks supposed to do? And I think they're a better team today than they were yesterday.
You don't throw a Hail Mary on first down in the first quarter, right? This is the Nuggets are probably heading into the third quarter. The Bucks are on the final drive of the fourth quarter. There's a little bit more of a desperation there, and that's why. So, Eric, what about you, man?
Yeah, it's this is a move you make as a general manager when you just think well, if this doesn't work, I'm gone anyway, so who cares? In 4 years, because the next regime will be the one that pays for this. This is like classic economics where you just kick a can way down the road and you're like, we'll deal with that later. It's fine. But when the lack of continuity that exists in almost every front office, it's exactly what Daryl Morey did on the way out. He's like, what if we just trade absolutely everything? And then he gets fired. He's like, man, now he's in Philadelphia. Man, the Rockets are screwed. That's terrible. But you have to keep Giannis. The Nuggets could not have made this deal. It is funny. We just spent a million hours talking about Jrue Holiday. It just evaporates in one tweet. You're like, and 3 weeks are gone. So now let's bring on the Kevin Love talk. Let's go.
Whatever else is next, yeah. I'll be honest, guys. My feeling when I saw it come across, before I even saw the terms, was a little bit of relief. And I might grow to regret that relief, right? It wasn't I'm 100% confident in this. But even before I saw the terms, my thought was, I just thought it was going to cost too much for Denver before I even knew the price. And then when I saw that price, I'm like, oh, well, of course Denver, it was impossible, in my opinion, that they could have pulled a trigger on such a similar deal. Mike Singer of the Denver Post says he knows that the Nuggets front office was blown away at the price of Jrue Holiday, meaning they weren't even close. Whatever they were offering was significantly less than that, and they were never going to match it, which is also why the deal got done yesterday and not tomorrow at the trade deadline. I'm sure Milwaukee got that offer and was like, yeah, it's not getting better than this.
But it does seem like, Adam, and we should clarify, by all accounts, they're heavily reported here as strong favorites right up until the moment the Bucks swept in. So their offer was not even close to the Bucks, but that's not to say they weren't trying or weren't aggressive. This is all that the Bucks came way over the top at the last second.
And the other thing about this, these trades, is people are like, why didn't the Nuggets match them? It's I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe the Bucks just wanted, or maybe they wanted the Pels just like the other package. Maybe they like Drew Bledsoe.
Well, that's actually a thing I heard was the Nuggets were really surprised that he went to Milwaukee, but also that the report that the Pels wanted to trade him to the East was actually real, and they really did want to do that. They did not want to keep him in the West and trade him to Denver if they had the choice.
And New Orleans, from their perspective now, they have, I believe, 8 first-round draft picks. I can't remember the exact number, but they have quite a few here in the next coming years. I imagine you look at those more as what can they do to build quicker. I think when you look at Oklahoma City, you think, okay, they're probably going to trade some of those 17 firsts they have over the next 7 years, but a lot of those are going to be they want to draft. Mm-hmm. They have a long timeline. I think New Orleans may be a little bit more urgent on that front, just because Brandon Ingram's already on his second contract. Zion Williamson's already a year into this, so they might be a little bit more urgent. But Jrue Holiday would have been great for Denver at a very specific price. I just don't know. So I see the Broncos squatch here. Leave this one up. Wiz and Rockets liking where they're sitting with Beal and Harden after that haul that New Orleans got. Yes and no. I've seen this take a lot, but here's the thing. The reason that Drew Holiday commanded so much wasn't because Drew Holiday is worth that. It's that there was a team in Milwaukee that was just desperate. They had to do it.
Right.
If you
I would love to know what the second best offer for Drew Holiday was. Maybe it was the Nuggets offer.
Yeah, and it's not even just that. If you have a glass of water in the desert and there's someone coming to you that is dying of thirst, you could sell them that water for $100. That doesn't mean the water's worth $100, and you go back into the city and now sell it. It's just you had this very specific.
Adam's a capitalist.
Yeah. As a capitalist, you see somebody dying. Look, if they're going to live or they're going to die, it's their call. No, I'm just kidding. So this is what happened with Milwaukee. So that price was a little inflated because, as you guys mentioned, Milwaukee only gets a Giannis every 20 years. And they've had good luck at finding superstars. But 20, 30 years, you only get a Giannis like that often. They have him. They almost didn't have him. And it's like, hey, we'll do anything it takes to not let this thing die. And even if that means mortgaging the distant future, we'll do it. So I don't know. So the answer is maybe there's another desperate team 1 year from now or 4 months from now. It's very likely. That's my other takeaway from this is I see a lot of people on the timeline. And I would say there's a certain type of cover of people that cover, and look, there's no right or wrong way to cover the Nuggets, in my opinion. You can you can be the Debbie Downer. There's ways I personally don't care for it. I think most people don't care for it. But look, saying there was the take of clearly Denver doesn't want to win. The Bucks are showing they care about winning, and the Nuggets are not. And it's like, okay,
the Nuggets love Gary Harris so much they couldn't get the Bucks. The Pels demanded Gary Harris. The Nuggets clearly told him to fuck right off.
I love that take. Yeah, it wasn't the 5 first-round picks. It was the Gary Harris that the Nuggets were like, hey man, we just can't.
They're like, what? You burn in hell.
Yeah. No, but I can't even remember where I was going with this. This is too far off the rails for me. I don't know. Denver, there's still a lot of avenues for them to make this work. And here's where I was going. Right now, it was Drew Holiday, and maybe James Harden, and maybe it's somebody else. To me, I see people saying there was a lot of tweets last night around midnight from people going this league, right? Hashtag this league or unbelievable. And I'm at the point where this Harden stuff, the Drew Holidays, all these rumors, I'm just like, it doesn't. I'm not so. I expect it. I just expect it. It's lost a little bit of the novelty of me being remember when DeAndre Jordan was locked in a room and we're all like, oh, this league, it's crazy.
Yeah, that was kind of awesome, though. He was locked in a house.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
But now I just assume it. Right. So, and my point is, right now it's Drew Holiday, it's James Harden. Maybe another name will arise we don't see coming. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, who knows? But next year, it'll be another name. And this isn't the last opportunity for Denver to make a move that brings somebody in. There's just always going to be a player. This is the new NBA. There's always going to be some disgruntled player with a year or two left on their deal. And should Denver decide to move on at that point, they will still have an opportunity to do it. Sorry.
Yeah. There definitely will be. And there have been past players who have come up, like the Kawhi Leonards, the Kyrie Irvings, the Jimmy Butlers, that Denver might have been able to go get. Right. The thing that hurts about Drew Holiday, though, is that I feel like he's been the best potential fit for this roster where it's currently at next season than really any of those previous guys. I don't know if you could find a guy that's not only gettable, but just a guy who's the perfect piece next to Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic for next season. I was sold on Drew Holiday's fit. I know there will be more guys that come up, but I don't know if they'll be as seamless of a potential fit as Holiday would have been.
Although it turns out not gettable.
Right. Not gettable. Yeah. And as much as I think you're right, Harrison, about comparing him to Kevin Love, Jimmy Butler, Dwayne Wade, these are the names that have popped up that Denver has. I also saw the take of Denver, always the second best offer, huh? Never going to pull the trigger. Okay, whatever. But if you would have got... People criticize them for not getting Dwayne Wade. Well, that worked out in Denver's benefit. Not getting Dwayne Wade allowed for them to grow. Kevin Love, I think that would have been a disaster. Come on, Paul Millsap was a great fit for Denver. And Denver made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. I don't know if they do that with Kevin Love. So you look at some of these moves and say whatever. Drew Holiday, I think, was the best of those. But I still think that there's players out there that might actually end up being better. I mean, maybe a Klay Thompson becomes available before long. Maybe a Paul George. I know Paul George right now is very low Q score, but guess what?
Can you imagine if we ended with Paul George?
I think it'd be great. Are you kidding me? I think it'd be great.
But just the irony of
it would be
too
because
much.
Here's the thing: Paul George isn't that guy. He's not the guy that's like, all right, he's going to step up and win. He's going to hit the side of the backboard. But
Someone
guess what?
should tell him that.
Denver has 2 guys of that already. What they need is a Paul George that could be a steady 20-point-per-game scorer, defender, this or that. So maybe a year from now, that's where this lands. I'm just saying there's always a guy, and I don't think Denver's running out of chances.
I think the real appeal in Drew to me is, do I think Drew was the home run piece? No,
Right.
but you didn't. It looked for a long time like you weren't going to have to take a home run swing to get him. So
Right.
it was
Yep.
adding Drew Holiday to the core without touching the core. And in my opinion, I think Wynn felt the same way. I know I saw this a lot from Ryan Blackburn. To me, it was like, that's a winning move. If it's a couple of firsts and Gary and Monte, I think you do it.
Totally.
But at the end of the day, the Bucks just took this out of their hands. To get him, it would have taken a home run offer, and I'm not convinced that Drew is that guy that you push all the chips in. And so that's that. You clean your hands of it and you move on.
Yeah, I mean, they probably did offer that. I wouldn't be surprised if they even matched what they could in that Bucks offer. You just can't. There's no absolutes versus relatives. Like, if the Pels like one offer, they pick it. That's the end of it. Like,
And firsts are still valuable. Like, it's really easy to send a snarky tweet and sort of frame it just as
That's
like,
so easy.
oh, you,
it's actually
you want
literally
your
the
late
easiest
first?
thing you can do in life.
It's even easier
Yeah,
now to
it's-
send a snarky fleet.
Oh, cool. Look, you traded 3 Thon McCurs, but like, I would like people to know that literally every single good basketball player that's ever existed was once drafted. So like the draft picks matter, and they are assets. And look, these are further down the line for the Bucks. Well, maybe that's good news for the Pelicans. Maybe that's 3-4 years when Drew's gone, Giannis is gone. The Bucks are in full rebuild mode, and these become super valuable picks. So it was a hefty offer. Maybe not if you're worried about Giannis leaving, but Denver's not in that position,
Right.
And so that's just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What-
this
what-
is like. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, like, this to me is now manifesting sort of like the way we were talking about how people are going to be making these big. It seems like the trades we've seen so far have been like overpays in the sense of like too many assets going one direction or the other, because people are not wanting to spend American U.S. dollars. They have these valuable things called draft picks, which exist in the future, and so you can like. The weird way that the economy is right now, like I can just imagine that trades will happen and they will feel lopsided just because that is worth more now than them wanting to actually get real money on the books in that way.
Yeah.
With,
What I heard,
free agents.
what I heard from one Nugget source was that the Bucks' backs were against the wall, ours weren't against the wall. Like the Nuggets have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray locked under contract, for the next 4 seasons. Their window is going to be open for a while. The Bucks had to make this move for the sake of their franchise, man. Their backs were against the wall.
I'll tell you what, man. The Bucks did really break my heart yesterday, but it wasn't Drew Holiday. It was Bogdanovich.
Yep, that's the move we got to talk about.
That was the bummer, dude. That was the bummer.
Such a bummer.
By the way, I knew the internet would call me out for framing that incorrectly somehow, and that's right. Forgot about undrafted players. Although Terrence Davis, maybe
Let's not
the
keep
best
for
example.
Terrence Davis at the moment. Let's just
he's
give
out the
him-
club.
Yeah, he's out the club. He's out the club. We'll take a break. On the other side, though, we're going to get to some what ifs, including the title of this one. People are about to bring out the tomatoes.
They love it.
What
People
if
are
the Nuggets
excited
trade
about
for James Harden, guys?
Oh, that reminds me. I need to go get some
After the
tomatoes.
break.
I'll be right back.
All right, Week 10 of football is in the books, guys. Let's review the tape. Let's get ready for Week 11. There's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. To add to the excitement of Week 11, DraftKings Sportsbook is bringing back their can't-miss offer. Head to their app store now. You don't want to miss this. They are giving all new users the chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when signing up using promo code DNVR. Very important. When you sign up, you have to use the promo code DNVR. That's the only way to get that sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Tons of awesome stuff to bet on with DraftKings. Some of these draft props that they have for the NBA draft are pretty fun. I'm going to get to one of them when I do the pick of the week here in a second. But you can bet on the NBA draft. You can bet on
Might
college
actually hit on
football,
your pick
pro
of the week
football.
this week.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But make sure to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DNVR when you sign up to get up to $1,000. That's code DNVR to get a deposit bonus up to $1,000 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a Deposit bonus requires 25x playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, let's go to the DraftKings pick of the week here.
Ooh.
So I've already given one of these as a pick of the week in terms of like player draft positions. I took Obi Toppin over 4.5. I feel very good about that, actually.
Oh, wow. All right, let's see how much
feel
money
very
you're going to
good
lose
about
me
that.
this week. I'm hopping on to make your bet. 0 of 2, last 2.
What do you guys...
This
what do
pick
you
of
guys-
the week pairs nicely with this weepy guitar. I like it.
What do you guys think of Aaron Nesmith? What do you guys think of Aaron Nesmith?
I like him.
Shoot.
Yeah, he can shoot.
He can shoot.
He can really shoot.
DraftKings has this over-under player draft position as over 11.5. So is he going to go like below, like get picked earlier than 11 or earlier or after 11? I feel like this is a lock
Dude, you're
for him to get taken after the 11th pick.
you're
Yeah, I
Obi,
haven't seen him mocked or higher than like 15 anywhere.
Yeah.
your Obi Toppin bet. I'm betting $20 to win $28. This is a weird one.
Well, I'll tell you this.
You
I
want-
got in
you want
on
$8
that when the odds were not this bad.
Wow.
Obi Toppin used to be rumored as the 4th overall pick to Cleveland. Or to Chicago. That was not that long ago.
This is why they're locks, and then you put all of your money on it to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah, like that.
a
There
lot
was
of
that guy
money.
that bet $50,000 to win $10,000.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Giblets.
And
The
and then
the odds
CSU got
probably
their
moved,
Face kicked in. He won $10,000.
The odds probably moved in the Obi Toppin over under because of the DNVR bump. They probably
Probably.
screwed with the odds on that one. So yeah, for this DraftKings pick of the league, I'm taking Aaron Nesmith to get drafted over 11.5. So to get taken with the 12th pick or later.
A
Boy,
great
it's
comment here. Only one who thinks Adam looks like Bogdanovic's cousin. No, I get this a lot. All the Serbians. I'm telling you, I must be part Serbian. I'm not sure.
I doubt it.
Manes is actually it's in Serbia. There's a name that it's in there. It's not that
Manes.
uncommon. Yeah.
Okay, well.
I think they probably pronounce it different. All right, you guys ready to really get crazy here with some
Let's do it.
horrible what ifs? Now, here's the thing that's funny about this question, guys. How many teams currently have 2 top 10 players on their roster right now?
The Los Angeles Lakers
That's
The
one.
Lakers.
and potentially the Brooklyn Nets.
Well,
If
at
they
the
get
moment,
James
no.
Harden.
Yeah. I don't know if there is another one. You could maybe try to argue for the Clippers, but I don't think so.
Maybe
I don't
the
think
Rockets?
Paul George is out the club, man. Yeah, Westbrook. Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't say it. Only one. Denver
Lakers.
could potentially have 2, with Jamal Murray being the 3rd player, and he's on the rise.
Well, how
That
many-
player is, of course, the least likable top 10 player, maybe of all time, and James Harden. So my question is, guys, can we think a little bit? Just let's humor ourselves here for a moment, and let's just. What would happen if the Nuggets went all in for James Harden? Like, what does that team look like?
I think it's a really good team, to be honest. I think it'd be really good. Just Murray, Harden, Jokic.
Pandemic P, honestly, playoff P was top 10 like 4 months ago. He's really fallen. That playoffs was really rough
And
on him.
well, it wasn't even the playoffs. He just had like a really bad game 7. Like he was actually pretty solid the whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually was. You're right.
Well, and then the thing about playoff P is that he revealed himself to be emotionally fragile,
Yeah,
to be
so
psychologically
fragile.
fragile when he was put up in the bubble. The walls were the clear bubble walls were closing in on him the whole time.
Yeah.
He needs a new PR for him too, man. He's a
need-
guy
yeah.
that just can't help himself.
Yeah.
Some people
Okay,
just need
so-
to not talk.
Ball
You know,
game.
just- yeah.
Okay, what was I saying?
Now,
Okay.
we're gonna humor here. Somebody saying Harden would acquire Murray. Okay, probably. Look, I'm not trying to say we can make the framework of the deal work, but let's just say Houston right now is interested in saving some money, guys. I don't know if you heard, but they could.
No.
No, but I'm saying Michael Porter Bowl and then the Drew Holiday package of draft pick. Every draft pick Denver has
Right,
from now
right,
until
right,
eternity. You know, something of that nature.
The Nuggets would be a very good team. They'd be a top team in the West with Harden, Jokic, and Murray. Like that trio, best trio in the league, probably. Best 3-man group in the league. I want to make this very clear, though. I want no part of James Harden in Denver. I don't think the Nuggets do. And they're right. It would totally screw the chemistry. that Denver has worked over the last 4 or 5 years to build organically. It would totally change up how the Nuggets play. I wonder what it would do to the locker room. It would kind of tear the Nuggets apart kind of from the inside out. They would be a great team, but they would have no soul. They would have no heart. It would be a totally different feel. And for that reason, I am totally out. I am 100% out on Harden coming to Denver.
Well,
yeah, no. I don't see how this would work as a trio. I mean, there's a ton of aggregate talent, but the Jokic and Murray two-man game is like the usage there is through the roof. And I mean, it would just be you have to pick one or the other. I mean, I really don't think Murray is trying to become a purely because a player has off-ball prowess does not mean you're maximizing them. If you're paying Murray a max contract to just like stand in the corner, man, or stand on the wings. I know you like the two ball handler thing, but it's James Harden. Like his usage rate would be through the roof, and it would get further and further away from Jokic ball. And I just don't think it would be very fun for Nuggets fans until they compete for/win a title, at which point it would be super fun.
Best comment of the day so far. Garden Rock in Patagonia. Yeah, I don't know if his style quite fits the Denver style. Eric, I want your thoughts, man. What are you thinking here?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I brought a photo up of Harden and Westbrook that fit the Denver style pretty
That's
well.
true.
Like, they're sitting on that car. I mean, what a nightmare. You've just described a nightmare. Like James Harden. Although I will say this, like James Harden didn't used to be as offensively ball dominant as he was allowed to be under D'Antoni, where D'Antoni was so impressed with this little system he came up with of just shooting threes or driving, and then James Harden just dribble, and then he became the point guard somehow, and it was like all really confusing. It sort of worked, but it actually all evaporated into what we all assumed it would early on. I mean, James Harden can just shoot the hell out of the ball. You know, if you could get James Harden to be to play like more of a traditional two,
right.
It could be like deadly.
Yeah, I don't think Harden would. It wouldn't be like Houston Harden in Denver. It wouldn't be just him like dribbling the ball at the 3-point line and just isoing or going pick and roll in possession. Like it would be more of a timeshare for sure.
Totally. I mean, D'Antoni like just enabled like the worst qualities of James Harden and then you know what I mean? He just like made him like the most like disgusting version of himself, and it's just like a spoiled child. Like
this is why I know the hedge fund manager organization, because it's like there's a system that's designed to try to make things like equal. Then there's people that are like, how can we game this to make it not? And that's what I feel like we want to believe in, this basketball idea that it takes a team coming together and everybody working together. And then there's this other view that's like, what if we just cheat everything to where one guy just dribbles around for a while, and it's like, and it almost worked. In theory, it could work if it was just but if it was just a little bit better, maybe it would work. I mean,
yeah, but if it was a little better, it would have been different. It would have been a different.
Go ahead, but you have another thing you want to add here?
It's not that I don't think Harden and Jokic could make it work. The idea of this being a trio is hard for me to conceptualize, and I actually don't really think that's optimal team building. Like, Murray's paid right now to be a high usage on ball, at the moment, second best player on a title caliber team. And or do we really think Harden's just going to slide back to a reduced role in a new city just like that?
I bet he will. I bet he does in Brooklyn.
Okay, that's the rule, right? He wants to go to Brooklyn. We're going to talk about that aspect briefly here, but I want to push back a little bit. Guys, it would work. Like, I'm not saying for sure it would work because of the personality part, but if you're just talking about the, like, aggregate skill sets and whether it would be like an unstoppable offense. I mean, the Murray-Jokic two-man game is elite. The Harden-Jokic game would be, in my opinion, at least as elite, if not more. I mean, probably more elite. James Harden, let's be honest, guys, he's one of the best offensive players of all time. Yep. So I think there's no question that this group of talents on paper, in a vacuum, just playing this like fantasy basketball role, I think it could work. The question is, one, there's no chance James Harden wants to be in Denver. I mean, no chance. He wants to be in Brooklyn.
Come on, dude. Come on.
What?
People want to come and be on the Nuggets and play in
James Harden does not.
James Harden does not. James Harden
I can say that with total confidence.
He couldn't even get through that with a
I'm just kidding. What an insane thing that you have to say that James Harden doesn't want to come to Denver. Yes, we know.
And so I think that you're starting off on that wrong foot right off the bat. And then just like, the personalities, like you said, let's be honest here. Here's the thing that concerns me. And this is the thing I don't like about this version of the NBA, where players can always just go, I really do believe there's something to players learning these lessons through, like the Jordan myth. I call it the myth because I don't think it's 100% accurate, but there is some accuracy to the, like, he struggled, he had to learn some lessons. Phil came in and, like, said, hey, we got to take the ball out of your hands and bounce it. And he had to learn all these harsh lessons, right? And then they succeed. I feel like do you feel like James Harden has learned from these last 5 years, just from seeing his interviews and this, that? Of course we don't know. But is your opinion that he is like, I have to change as a leader and become something different because what I've done doesn't work? I think he's like, you know what, the Rockets screwed me. I don't think
he's thought about it, to be honest.
I don't think exactly. So I mean, even all these comments that come out, Westbrook seems to, Chris Paul seems to have, everybody that goes there seems to have this little thing with him. So I just don't know that he's going to come to Denver and be like, you know what, Jokic and Murray, they're really good, and I need to rely on them. And I just don't think that's it. But if you talk about the aggregate talents, there's no question about it.
Well, of course, they would be the most talented team in the league.
But here's my question: is we keep talking about, like, can Michael Porter stay healthy and also figure it out and do this things and can Bol do this and every scenario you point to for the Nuggets requires something happening that is probably unlikely. And I don't know if saying James Harden learning the synergy and working out as a character and as a player is any less likely than saying Michael Porter's going to stay healthy for long enough for Denver to work him in and be a good culture and character fit and get along with those guys and all of those other things. So, and build a healthy defense around him. So I'm inclined to say no on Harden. I don't think it's realistic anyway. This is just fun conversation. But it's a thought experiment because it is like, it could work. You can't pair two top 10 players together and just have to gloss it over as in no way should Denver go for that.
The other thing, too, is, like, if you do MPJ 3 firsts, like Gary and Barton, this is not going to happen, but that's not, like, a terribly far off package. So, I mean, I guess if you really, like, that's the thing about the Nuggets is, with all the Drew stuff, we're tiptoeing around the Godfather offer, which Denver seems resistant to even sort of talk about, but they do have one. And so if they do decide to flip this switch, I mean, they can get in on some of these discussions.
Yeah. Let's move on to another one. Oh, by the way, also James Harden saying that one of the reasons he wants out of Houston, maybe the main reason, is because Tillman Fertitta's support of Donald Trump. Just going to put this in. I don't really want to talk about this, but it isn't worth noting. First of all, I don't buy it, but this was a thing that people talked about when the NBA went on their strike during the bubble. One of the things people talked about are players going to start pushing? I mean, we're doing all this stuff and they're saying, hey, we want some social change or this or that. Some of these owners don't. And our players going to start pushing back. This is at least the first time, whether you buy it or not, it's the first time that the conversation has at least come out. But we can move on from that. What if the Nuggets drafted Malachi Flynn? Malachi Flynn showing up in some draft mocks lately for the Nuggets usually means there's something going on. Harrison, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but how would you feel?
It would probably signal the end of Monte Morris's run in Denver, I would certainly think, because if you're spending a first-round pick, it's usually a guy that you're banking on having on your roster for 4 years. I mean, he's on that rookie scale contract. That probably means that you're not going to extend Monte Morris, who could get a contract extension this season and is a free agent at the end of this coming next season. So I feel like that would signal that Nuggets would try to move off of Monte Morris because Malachi Flynn projects as your prototypical backup point guard.
Vote?
Yeah, man, I'd be a little underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, like, don't know Malachi, don't even know if he's coming to Denver. He's definitely not watching this show. Would give him a shot. You wait and
on the
see
show?
But this is not a and Malachi, you are invited on the show if you are watching. But this is, we're not going to turn around and high five each other after this pick. And I would agree with Wind, if you're doing it, you're probably that much closer to moving on from Monte.
So, Eric, I know you don't know these guys too much, but Malachi Flynn, 6'1", really small, really skilled, like solid. He's kind of a Monte replacement. I just think he's not as good as Monte. I don't even project him to be as good as Monte, but maybe he is.
Yeah, I went and looked at him after you guys were trashing him and we're like.
I think he's a little better than we're giving him credit for.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's
To me, it's like the Nuggets, and Tim Conley said as much. Like, it would just signal that they think he's the best player that would be there at the time, with no real plans for how he would fit into the lineup. Like, they're just grab the best guy and see what happens. Like, maybe he turns into a trade. Maybe,
this question here, I don't know if he's a starter in Denver. I'm pretty sure he's not, and I don't think he would be drafted to be. I don't think the Nuggets' plan is to pair Jamal Murray and Malachi Flynn together going forward. I don't imagine that ever. Even if Malachi Flynn turns out to be the best version of himself, I just don't know that that's what Denver. That's not how you construct a roster around Jokic and Murray, in my opinion. So he would be drafted to be a backup point guard.
Yeah, or just to be a good player on the
right.
Just the thought of we just need as many good players as possible, and the rest of it will shake out. Like, I mean, you can get behind that thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Next one here. What if the Nuggets trade for Buddy Hield? A lot of people in the comments. Apparently, this has picked up steam. I've poked around to see if it was coming from reputable sources. Don't really see any there, but
this
you never know.
rumor seems like it was created in like a Twitter black hole somewhere. I cannot find where this rumor was created.
Yeah. Buddy Hield liked a Twitter post or something like that. So, yeah, but let's talk about it because Buddy Hield is a great shooter. Denver has talked a lot about, needing some extra shooting. If you, I'm not trying to sell him to you guys, but he scored 19 points a game last year, 20 points a game the year before. He's a 41% career three-point shooter, and he has 4 seasons now of 39% or above, and that's on volume. 2 of those seasons, 5.5 threes a game. The last 2 seasons, 8 and 9.5. So he shoots a lot of threes and he makes a lot of threes. Denver could use that, no?
Yes.
I'm gonna say no. Because Gary Harris would have to be in this deal, and I just think you lose a ton defensively if you've got to swap out Gary Harris's defense for Buddy Hield. You lose a ton. And also, if you're trading for Buddy Hield, you're really committing to him for like the next 4 years. He's under contract for the next 4 years. He's making $24 million this coming season, $22.5 million the year after that, $20.5 million in 2022, 2023, and then $18.5 million in 2023, 2024. Substantially more like over the next 2 seasons than Gary Harris is making. And I don't know if it's honestly that big of an upgrade for Gary Harris. I know that might sound crazy because he's so much better offensively than Gary is, but when you look at the defense, when you look at the total package, I don't know if it's that big of an upgrade or if it's an upgrade at all.
Plus, isn't Buddy Hield doesn't he have like an unknown age? He's like,
I think
it's known now. Yeah,
I think it's known. It's just very old. He's like a lot older than you think it is. He is like 28. He'll be 28 in a month. So
the Danny Almonte of the NBA, where he just like showed up and he's like, "Just kidding, I'm like 5 years older than you guys thought."
I'm actually 41. Vote. Are you out also on Buddy Hield?
Yeah. Don't think Buddy Hield is too keen on like a stationary sort of 3-and-D kind of role either. Not that he really has the
D part.
Yeah, not that he even has that. But I'm just saying
that
is
3 player.
Right, exactly. But I think he wants to be more than that in an offense, and I don't think he would be in Denver. It's an expensive shooter that I think would probably cost you, Gary, to Wynn's point. It just doesn't seem like a logical move to me. I mean, the case for it is he's a shooter. You like shooters around Jokic, but I'm not there with Buddy.
I feel like Buddy would be phenomenal offensively, and the idea of Murray, amazing. Buddy, and MPJ and Jokic, and then you have Grant, and they're like that team leads the league in offensive rating, and they every now and then they blow out a great team by 30 points, and it's just so fun. But I'm with you guys. You get down. The Nuggets are in that point where it's like, would it be fun to win by 20 against the Suns? I guess the Suns are good now. The Thunder, from time to time, like, yeah, that'd be fun. But you got to start thinking about how do they beat the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals? And Buddy Hield's probably not that guy to me. What about? Let's do one more before we hit another break. But Isaiah Stewart, he's been rumored. Let's say the pick has come out. The Nuggets have drafted Isaiah Stewart. Eric, you want to go first on this one?
I don't know anything about this guy.
That's why you're going first.
Yeah, that's why you're going first. Okay, Vote. Give us your take. Isaiah Stewart, big man, but not that tall.
Yeah, we talked about it a good amount these last few weeks. We'll sort of this is a guy you're drafting to fill a backup big role, not projecting him to do much else. As Adam pointed out, a big that's not very tall, although
huge wingspan though, like incredible.
Huge wingspan and a freak athlete, like not necessarily like strong leaping stuff, but just strong as hell and throws his body around. So this is a guy who might very well be a backup 5 one day. And I don't think it's the end of the world to use 22 to fill that role if you think it's a guy who can play right away, cost control. So it's an underwhelming pick, but I think it's something Denver's going to consider strongly if he's on the board.
Isaiah Stewart, by the way, A+ character guy, so like he's maybe the number one
Great
first
background.
team all character, all background. Yeah, it's great on Isaiah Stewart for whatever that's worth. I don't know how much. Harrison?
I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like this could be the guy for Denver if he's on the board at 22. We've thought they might take a big guy for these last couple of weeks, and like Isaiah Stewart seems like a guy you could slot into that draft spot. I think it's a somewhat safe pick. Like, I don't think it's gonna, maybe win the press conference or win that many headlines, but I think Isaiah Stewart's going to be a really quality backup big man in this league for a while. So if you can get a quality rotation guy at 22, it's solid, but
Pick who can't shoot. His shot's like okay as well, guys. It's okay.
yeah,
Well, I've
I
done a
don't
little-
think we're doing cartwheels, but
I've
the
done a little
Nuggets might
scouting
be.
on him since you guys mentioned him 11 seconds ago, and
Yeah.
I see a video
got?
here that says he dominated college with an exclamation point afterwards. So sign me
did.
up. I'm in.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be good. He's not going to be like he's not going to like make a lot of Sports Center highlight reels. No Nugget does, but I think he's going to be a really quality player.
Character got Thomas well drafted.
Character-
Guys, that was 58. That was a 58th pick. We're talking about the
Character
22nd pick
and
here.
sneaky good rebounding and underrated range. But,
But
you know, go
nonetheless, I hear your point. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we still have more. I too, by the way, I'd be underwhelmed if they get Isaiah Stewart on draft night. I'd just be like, all right. I would say I trust Tim Conley. He's very good at this. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I personally don't see it. So, that's kind of how I would feel. But Harrison, give us our last break. On the other end, there's another guy kind of sneaking into the draft boards for Denver. We're going to talk about. We keep hearing his name. We'll see.
It's me. It's Brendan Vogt. Just flying up draft boards.
MSU Denver Online, guys. These guys have been doing the online education thing forever. They've mastered teaching college classes online. And that's especially handy now because online education is really the only option we've got for a lot of us. So why wouldn't you take a class with the guys who have been doing this type of thing forever? Check out their entire course list online, msudenver.edu/online. Awesome teachers. I took a class there last summer. The course content is super relevant. A lot of the teachers that you have at MSU Denver Online, they work in the field of the class that you're taking, so it's a great networking opportunity as well. So check them out today. msudenver.edu/online. Finally, download, subscribe to the DNVR Rugby Podcast with Colton Strickler. An incredible podcast, incredible guests, incredible analysis, incredible content, riveting stuff on
Wow.
the DNVR Rugby Podcast.
That's- that
Subscribe,
really picked up steam.
download, give it 5 stars today. You won't regret it.
Wow, there we go.
I'm going to start referring to our bumper music as washed jazz.
Wash, yeah, I like it, man. You guys are. I'm tweeting out something. I'm
Are you tweeting or are you fleeting?
I was fleeting. A little fleeting. Dude, I can't believe you're. This is like great music.
I know.
Yeah. You just don't have any soul, Eric. Let's just be honest. You have no soul, brother. I got to teach you some of this. All right, so let's move on. There's a couple. We got to almost go rapid fire here because I want to get to as many of these as possible. What if the Denver Nuggets trade Monte Morris and the 22nd pick, but they get Maxey? Now, this one I think is unlikely. I think it would cost more, but, guys rise and fall. So maybe Maxey falls a little bit and he's available, but it's going to cost a little to move up. Harrison?
It'd be exciting. I'd be excited to watch Tyrese Maxey for sure. It's tough because you're going from a guy at backup point guard in Monte Morris who's just the staple of consistency, and you just know what you're getting all the time. Rarely turns the ball over, not erratic, plays within the offense. And then you go to Maxey, who's kind of like this wild card who is just like the opposite and
Shot out of a cannon.
looks for his shot a lot. Super electric player, like probably going to be one of the faster players in the league.
Super electric, yeah, for sure.
But like he's going to be a super, like really exciting guy to watch. So it'd be fun, but it kind of make me a little uneasy too.
It does feel like Monte's floor is really good backup point guard, and his ceiling is really, really good backup point guard. And then
Yeah.
Maxey is like maybe like a fringe star, or
Oh
maybe
yeah,
like
Maxey
just
has
not good.
Yeah, Maxey has a little bit of star potential, no doubt,
Yeah.
and he would line up with my draft strategy when in doubt. Draft a guy from Kentucky. So
That's a really good one, and his defense is
he's
legitimately.
got a star potential for sure.
He has star defense, and what I mean by that is I like watching him play defense. Some guys are just good, but in a boring way. He's so quick, man. Like sometimes he does the cool type of stuff where he's shadowing a guy and you can't get around him. Vote.
Can't imagine him starting in Denver ever, though. The defense is great, but we've talked about it a lot. He's not a lot of size there, even if just to slide him up at the 2. He's also not really a perimeter shooter. I mean, maybe he develops into one. He's certainly a scorer, but he's not one of the elite touch guys from outside. And so, does this really fill any of Denver's needs? And if you're sort of moving on from Monte to get him, in fact, you might actually sort of be creating some. So Maxey is a considerably better player. It isn't exactly like we need this because he fills this role. I think Denver has plenty of scoring.
And the problem is he is probably a 2 because I don't think he has that great of vision. So I don't think you can put him as your lead ball handler.
Right. So he's
you're
a
still gonna
small
have Jamal
2.
on ball, so he's a small 2. It's a rough one. I would be okay, but not too excited. Eric, you can always feel free to hop in here, but I'm gonna keep it moving.
Well, I was just gonna say, for 2 thoughts. Number one, I would make a Maxey Minor shirt the very first day that he arrived.
Okay, now I'm in. Now I'm in.
That's a great shirt. Oh my
Move
god!
him up the board. Move him
up the board.
Yeah, he's got interesting hair, which is another plus in my book.
He does have good hair.
It is hilarious to me that every person that we're the only role that we're talking about with every move, it's like all the backup point guards. It's like Monte Morris is on full assault. It's like every player is like.
Here's why I'm going to keep throwing Monte in, guys. I just think he's going to cost too much. So Denver is in the moment. I think they have to decide on Monte. He's really good. You might have to start planning for a future that doesn't include him. In fact, I would say that's very likely.
But
he's also the only guy who's in the $3 million to $5 million with his salary, like that type of range. That's the perfect guy to throw into trades. Like MPJ is kind of in that too, but he's obviously not getting thrown into deals. Like Monte's the salary that can be easily moved.
Yeah, it's just telling the type of players that are available to us when the person that we keep talking about is Monte Morris, the backup point. It's we're not talking about adding a starter. We're not looking at it's just how does that work with one of our 2 backup point guards?
Right. What about Monte in 22 for Poku? For Poku, this is everybody's fan favorite, the Poku one, Monte in 22. Ooh. I don't know if that gets it done again, but are you happy with that deal? It's weird because Monte is a piece that gets you where you want to go this year. Poku's not, but maybe Poku's really worth. Maybe he turns out to be something great. Eric, you know about Poku. Tell me your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean Poku is is
he real or is he just?
Well, first off, I don't know that he's real. I did watch a fair amount of Poku highlights, and I came away with being like, all right, that's a big, tall guy that throws a lot of things out of bounds, missed a lot of shots. I get it. He's a big, tall guy, and he can dribble, sort of, and he attempts interesting passes, many of which are not completed. I don't know. He's a young guy. I see potential. I'd be a little bit hesitant to get rid of Monte Morris. I mean, that is one bird in the hand, 2 in the bush situation, right?
It is trading the most known commodity on your team
for the least,
the least known thing in the draft.
Yeah, that's so true.
I do want to agree with Adam that trading Monte is going to be something we talk about all year, not because anyone's eager to do it, but there's a world, a very realistic world we're probably living in which Monte is gone eventually, whether they trade him or not. So
that deal could also be you trading 2 rotation players right now for somebody who could maybe be a rotation player in 2 years. Because Monte's a rotation guy. The guy you get at 22 could play next season. Poku's not going to play for 2 years.
I like thinking the way you phrased it. Vote made me think of Monte as a really nice IRA with a good solid return, and Poku being 10,000 scratchers. You're you know what, you might win really big with these scratchers here. You never know. But all right, let's move on to the next one. I don't even. You have to. This is one guy whose name I actually don't have yet. Zeke Nanji. Now, here's why I think I'm saying that right. The reason I'm bringing him up is he is starting to pop up on a bunch of mock drafts, and I'm not saying that means Denver's going to take him, but sometimes that is how it works out. Where it's like, okay, there's intel coming in that he's the guy. 6'11" center out of Arizona. Great offensive player. Has some great offensive upside as a player. Has a really beautiful looking shot. Has some post game. He's got some such. Not a great defender, inside or outside. It's not just that he's not a great perimeter defender. He's also not a good interior defender. But his name's starting to be attached. Harrison, walk me through this.
Cool name, cool hair. Not a huge fan, though. For me, he seems like he's definitely a step below the group of bigs we've been talking about. Like the Isaiah Stewarts, the Xavier Tillmans, the Precious Achuas, the Jalen Smiths. He seems like he's a clear step below those guys. But yet, like you said, he's somebody that keeps popping up in these mock drafts, potentially at 22. Didn't shoot threes in college, but I like his jumper. It seems like he's going to be able to shoot them at the NBA level. Good athlete, can run the floor, can go get a lob, good finisher inside, but you really wonder about his defense. And, like, he's not a playmaker or a passer either. Here's a crazy stat. He only blocked 28 shots in 32 games. He's 6'11", but averaged less than one block a game for Arizona last season. That would be a red flag for me, but, I mean, he is somebody that keeps getting mocked to Denver.
Yeah, and you guys know how I feel about there's a lot of guys who have great shooting mechanics, but their shots don't go in.
The Wesley Johnson All-Stars, man. The most beautiful shot from a non-shooter I've ever seen.
Zeke is an early candidate, guys. Didn't shoot a ton, shot 29% from three. So I like the idea of someone who could be a stretch five, maybe even should be a stretch five. But to this point, it actually hasn't been one. He's a big who's not dominant on the boards, and as Harrison just pointed out, can't protect the rim.
Dope.
This would just be like such a
he seems like a thrift store version Jalen Smith for me.
I was just gonna say that. Maybe not that word for word, but yes.
Yeah.
I like that Jalen Smith looks like a large version of Urkel with his glasses too. So I'd rather have him.
I think if we draft Najee, I might have to play the sad music. This would be a real downer to me.
Although Zeke, if you're out there listening,
can't wait to have you
invited on the show.
I did hear though. Ready for it? Great background. Great background.
Bring it for a great background. No. High character.
He volunteers at a puppy shelter, guys. You guys, he's just incredible.
I heard he's like a musician or something too. Interesting guy.
Talking me into this guy. Talking me into him.
Can he play wash?
What are we doing here? All right, what if the Nuggets lose Jeremy Grant, guys? What if?
Shit.
Armageddon.
Are the Nuggets in position now to where they have to, like... There's one question I have psychologically with the Nuggets front office. They just lost out on Drew Holiday. I think they really wanted him. Is it human nature to kind of start to, like, overextend yourself just a little bit? Because now you're like, we have to avoid the disaster.
I think you do. I mean, they're in a really tough position if they don't bring back Jeremy Grant. Like, they'll have two options at that point. They can go to Paul Millsap, Mason Plumlee timeshare at the 4 next season, which would be something. Or they could go into an underwhelming free agent market, or they could try to swing like a Kevin Love type deal. Overpaying slightly for Jeremy Grant seems like a much better option than either of those two other ones to me.
Yeah, I think it's near essential. I mean, there's probably a line in the sand where you go, this is a little ridiculous, but you gotta be competitive even with sort of high end offers here, unless you're just gonna draft Paul Reed and just hope.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if we don't re-sign
Grant, Jeremy Grant.
Well, yeah. If we don't re-sign him, like, there were a lot of players that I was looking at that reminded me of Jeremy Grant in this draft. Like, to me that would mean
in the draft. Yeah.
To me that would mean that we get MPJ playing 4 at times. Like, we get the timeshare comes into play. Then we get a backup. Like, you can play a rookie on the backup squad.
Well, this is. I mean, I feel like it would have. The insurance plan would have been to get aggressive for Robert Covington, in my opinion. If you were to lose Grant,
you're worried,
you grab Rocco and you keep MPJ.
Nuggets
so Portland being as aggressive as they were, I mean, that to me is an L for Denver. It's not, and again, like, I don't think they should have come over the top. Like, Portland offered 2 firsts, for a role player. Like, they were aggressive. But that just would have been my ideal outcome. Like, okay, you're not confident Grant's coming back. Maybe it's MPJ at the 4 and Robert Covington at the 3. But that's off the table now.
Can you imagine the takes if Grant walks and the Nuggets don't end up with a trade or something like that? Oh my God. They'd probably be fair. I mean, let's be honest, guys. That would be very concerning. Here's the one thing I'll say. I am lower on. I really like Jeremy Grant. I'm surprised at how much everybody in Nuggets Nation seems to really love him. I mean, I really like his fit. I think he's a great fit, but I do worry about committing too much to players that are good fits. It just you can't do that. It's really, really tough to do that. That being said, I still believe he's going to be in the $13 to $15 million range. I think that's a fair contract, and I don't think that hamstrings Denver. But Denver might be in position now where if somebody does come over the top, they might have to match at 16, 17, 18. What if they trade for Victor Oladipo, guys? His name has been out there.
He never asked if he could play with y'all to us.
Well, it was certainly it's a move that would certainly appeal to the is Denver even trying to win a championship crowd. It's certainly a move that would get those guys going.
I see this comment. Jeremy Grant didn't shoot 40% from 3 coming into the NBA. That was a skill that he added to his game, and even he had weird shot mechanics early on and has changed them. So, I mean, there are players that I think fit that bill in this specific draft. Patrick Williams, maybe. We talked about Paul Reed. I mean, there's a handful of other guys. Precious Achua. There's certain guys that have athletic forward bodies that maybe could become shooters the way that Jeremy Grant did. I don't know. We'll find out.
Oladipo's a great player, though. I will say, once he got when he was really allowed to shine, I was really impressed with him until he got hurt.
Well, the comment section disagrees with you here.
Listen, I'm sorry I didn't read that comment before I opened my stupid mouth.
Oladipo did have a very phenomenal year, though. It is
He was
concerning
awesome.
that he hasn't maybe totally bounced back, and sometimes almost seems at odds with the team in which he's on. Like, that was a very good Pacers team you'd hope to add him back to, and he'd be just as good. He's not quite like Gary Harris because he's above. His peak was a lot higher, but he did have a little bit of a Gary Harris trajectory where he was really good, and that's what you're remembering. Last few, both injured / hasn't come back totally from it. But
I mean, nothing screams high character guy like abandoning your teammates, not refuting the report, and then posting an Etsy chalkboard graphic on your Instagram. So, yeah, I think Oladipo carries with him a lot of risk both on and off the court. Yeah, I would say no. It's just risky, man. That guy's coming off an injury.
The injury thing is weird. And talking to people, they don't know how he's going to bounce back from this thing.
Well, and
he's a risky guy to give up a lot for.
I've also heard that he's no better than a garbage can you buy at Home Depot. So.
I saw that. I read that recently.
I've also heard the background on Oladipo is sketchy.
Not great. Fantastic singer, though. We have to give it to him. All right, Spencer Dinwiddie. I'll add one here. Denver trade. I mean, what would they have? How do you acquire Dinwiddie on this?
Let's look at that contract. Actually,
was he? I can't remember with him.
Just the fact
we talked about him so much, 3 months.
Dinwiddie's under
ago,
contract for a couple years here.
But don't the Nets aren't every penny?
He's making
of the
about
Nets,
$12 million a year.
Yeah,
and then
all of their cap goes to 3 guys.
He's got a player option on 21, 22.
So he's got next year and a player option. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be 11 and 12 mil.
So you're looking at
Dinwiddie's not
a Barton swap, perhaps, or something of that nature.
He's not as good of a shooter as Barton is. He's more of in a point guard mold as compared to a wing. I think he'd be really nice coming off the bench, but I just don't know if I see the fit.
All right, I guess that's it for the.
That's all we got on Spencer.
Oh, I love
there's
it,
been
yeah.
a lot of Kelly Oubre questions.
Yeah.
The oops?
Because everybody,
Why?
it's because Houston's in. Well, Kelly Oubre's good. I like Kelly Oubre a lot, so I get it. I'm not saying I like the deal, but I think it's a fair question to ask. I mean, we've talked about a bunch of guys that I think are worse fits.
Isn't there some sort of rule you can't trade somebody then just trade them right again?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's also he just went to Oklahoma City here, so. I don't know. We'll see. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, though, guys. Again, I really encourage you to check us out. 5 o'clock. We're going to be live from the DNVR office and studios over at the DNVR Bar. It's going to be great. We're going to have George Karl on. We're going to have Mike Singer. We're going to have Matt Moore, Dave Dufour from The Athletic. We're going to have all kinds of guests coming in. And then, of course, we're going to be covering the draft our way. If you like the show and you're watching, I assume that you do, it's going to be this style of show for the NBA draft. It's not going to be stuffy. We're going to be talking about the players as they come in, giving you our takes on them and the Denver Nuggets perspective. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to have a good time. And I hope we get to play some funky music tomorrow as the draft is happening. Nothing would make me happier than to get the funky music. Poku, I think that's funky music, right? Paul Reed,
time
he's
funky
getting
music.
I'm playing.
We
the
should
funky
put that on the
music
big
and Paul
board.
Reed comes out. Yeah, the funky music.
We should denote funky music caliber selects on the big
I love
board.
it. We might have to adjust it for that. We're going to have fun, guys. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to be back again tomorrow. Don't forget, check out all of our draft player profiles up on the DNVR.com. There's all kinds of great ones there. And then, of course, join the DNVR Discord if you're a member and get the chat going with all of our other members. Really good chat. It's like Twitter that doesn't suck. That's what it's like in the Discord. It's really cool.
Smart takes only on the Discord.
Smart takes only, baby. All right, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to see you tomorrow.